Welcome to session 28 of our discussion of how the Frankfurt School governance model, sometimes called critical theory or critical inquiry, has become the dominant governance model in the United States. This session continues our discussion of my fourth tenet of the Frankfurt School governance model: reject the media as oppressive. Last session we reviewed why the media, the press, is so important to liberal democracy, to the point that freedom of the press is a protected institutional freedom, which is very unusual for our Constitution. The founders were reticent to enumerate rights for individuals, only doing so as amendments when it appeared the Constitution might not be ratified. Then here, in the First Amendment, they granted a right to the press as if it was an individual. My studies lead me to believe that they did this because individual freedom of speech had been seen as simply insufficient to prevent autocrats, the monarch or a House of Lords-driven parliament, from simply controlling the flow of information and opinions needed for a truly informed populace. Thomas Jefferson, a liberal's liberal, is quoted as saying that he would prefer a free press and no government to a government without a free press. As we said last session, many have said that freedom of the press is a cornerstone of liberal democracy. A free press provides transparency and accountability by acting as a watchdog for government abuse and overreach. Individuals generally do not have the tools or the resources to be able to do this. A free press informs you and me as the citizens of the nation, allowing us to make fully informed decisions. You know, they may say the same things many of us are saying, but they say those things to a much wider audience. A free press allows multiple perspectives to have a voice beyond what is available simply in the town square. And a free press that provides all these things helps safeguard against the rise of authoritarianism. To do these things right, the press must have the access and liberty to investigate where others do not want anyone to investigate. So a free press is frequently at odds with a government's desire for information security. In the main, we know all these things, as our schools, public and private, and home schools teach them. Of course, the depth and rigor of our understanding is dependent on several factors like where we live, who is teaching us, and what are the schools and the teachers' goals and preconceptions. I don't think a lack of education regarding the press is what is turning us to see it as oppressive to the point of rejecting it. As with all the trends moving us in the direction of the Frankfurt School governance model and the autocracy of one sort or another that it promises, the trend is likely due to a number of factors all working together, and our waning trust in the press as liberator and growing sense of the press as oppressor is also likely inextricably linked to our trend toward rejecting morality, religion, and science as well. As I have considered all the possible factors, my top 3 hypothetical reasons for our growing rejection of the media as oppressive are: first, the growing sense, real and perceived, that the press, particularly the mainstream press, is guilty of bias in all facets of its performance. Now, this is a pretty damning statement, and we need to take time to unpack it. Our perception is exacerbated by the internet and the associated access to unfiltered and potentially malevolently intended information that it provides. The distrust of elites that is growing in many parts of our population. Much of the press is seen as part of the powerful elite segments that are frequently believed to be trying to control our daily lives. And third, finally, this is where some of the crossover with our growing rejection of virtues, religion, and science becomes, to me, increasingly obvious. Our own polarization on issues of morality, science, and religion causes many of us to see the press generally through our own partisan and polarized lenses. During our next sessions, we will dig into these possible reasons for our increasing alignment with the Frankfurt School governance model tenet to reject the media as oppressive. Aloha.